York.
So we're going to continue to discuss this with a different city, New York City, quite a different look at the business picture. There's a push to figure out how to combat those retail vacancies here, too. A new study from the Department of City Planning finds vacancy rates throughout the 5 boroughs range from 5.1% to 25.9%. That depends on the neighborhood. We have with us here the Commissioner of Small Business Services, Gregg Bishop. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Very nice. And we're going to talk about what the city is doing to fix. It's a complex problem.
It's very complex.
Yeah.
And as the study showed, it's neighborhood by neighborhood. And we have, at Department of Small Business Services, we have identified that this issue is very complex. There's a lot of solutions on the table. You know, we provide services to help small businesses in general grow. You know, access to capital is one of the challenges. But when we looked at different neighborhoods, there are sometimes landlords who want to rent out to a small business, but they don't have the capital to actually build out the space.
Got it.
There are neighborhoods where the footprint is just too large, as you heard from the report. A lot of retailers change. So no longer do you need the big, large, cavernous storefront. You need a smaller storefront. So there's so many different complexities in terms of the vacancy issue.
Let's talk from the study some of our neighborhood issues.
Yeah.
First, let's look at some street areas and neighborhoods, the most vacant neighborhoods, and the challenges there, Gregg. Look at that, Canal Street, Manhattan. I mean, some of these are surprising, right?
And some of it is based on the fact that that particular area is zoned for a particular size of space. So again, going back to, you know, whether you're a retail store, you may not need 65,000 square feet anymore. But that landlord is not able to dissect the store into smaller footprints. So what we are trying to do is working with local organizations, figure out what's the right strategy for that particular neighborhood. In some cases, it's really just a merchant attraction strategy to help entrepreneurs understand, like in communities like Bushwick or Brownsville, there are vibrant commercial areas that you can actually start a restaurant or start a store. And how do we get entrepreneurs to invest in those corridors? Because we're making investment in mass transit, we're making investments in housing, and there's new potential consumers that could be in those neighborhoods.
But they have to know about it.
They have to know about it.
They have to know about it. Let's look at the least vacant areas. So this is showing some success stories, right?
Yep.
As I look at some of those, I see a lot of restaurants in there. Tell me,
well, Jackson Heights, you know, it's the mecca for, if you're a foodie, you need to go to Jackson Heights, right?
What else is
Fulton Mall? It's, you know, Fulton Mall has changed. You know, the rezoning that happened in downtown Brooklyn brought in a whole bunch of new residential towers. So that has changed that particular corridor. So again, it's a complex issue. The city council, we worked with the city council to get a vacancy registry bill passed, so that way we can understand reliable data from year to year to understand where are we seeing challenges and what type of programs we can actually create.
So I was just reading about that in that database. So it is a law, for one thing.
Correct.
People have to participate in that. How quickly do you think that could make a difference?
So probably, you know, the Department of Finance will stand up the database. We probably will start getting data by the end of, you know, next fiscal year or so. I think what it's going to do, it's going to really help us understand how to surgically address the particular issue. What we really want to target is the absentee landlords. There are neighborhoods where there have been vacant storefronts for 10, 15 years. Those landlords are not invested in the commercial corridors, and we want to make sure we do something to address that particular issue.
What about the Mayor de Blasio's idea of a vacancy tax?
And that's one of the tools that we can use. It's not going to be a total blanket tax because we understand there are different issues and different challenges. It's really to have all the tools necessary. So if you have an absentee landlord, we want to be able to say, like, we're going to tax you if you don't do something with that particular commercial corridor, because a vibrant commercial corridor means a safer city. If you walk down, you know, even different communities where there's a lot of vacancy, the avenue feels unsafe, right? So we want to see activity, and we want to make sure landlords know that, you know, you have to invest in the community that you're in.
And just lastly, let's say the everybody shopping online point is not applicable 100% to what we're talking about right now.
And I would say that small businesses have the experience. You know, some people want to have an experiential experience, like actually go in and touch the product and actually, you know, when you walk in,
business owner, you
when
know.
you walk into a store, the owner knows your name. The owner knows that like what you actually are looking for. So I always encourage people to shop local, support your local small businesses.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, Commissioner Gregg Bishop of the Small Business Services
Yes.
for the city. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.